Hey, Josh, it's Greg Rand from Renters Warehouse. How are you?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for putting your number in. You got a question for me?
Yeah, I was just I'm in the market for multifamily, 10 to 20, 30 unit property, and I got on late. If you already went over which markets are about to pop or that are still good buys, I'm in South Florida and everything's so expensive. I mean, it's 125 a door, 130, 150,000 a door. It's like, that doesn't seem like a buy to me. The numbers aren't working. So I guess I might have missed the beginning if he named some markets that.
No, not really. No, you didn't miss anything. No, I didn't. I'm kind of going wherever the wind takes me here. So, so that's cool. So, are you open to almost anything in the country?
Yeah, I'm open. I still want to live in South Florida. I have a lot of rental property in Houston that Richard Drake manages for me at Renters Warehouse there in Houston.
He's a great guy.
Which kind of enabled me to kind of retire on my cash flow here in South Florida. But I want to get bigger instead of single family. I'm trying to make the jump.
Awesome.
Multifamily.
Okay, well that's cool. So I'm a big single family guy, but obviously it's a kissing cousin to multifamily, and it's driven by a lot of the same fundamentals. So I'm going to give you 3 or 4 of my favorites and why. Okay, one of them is Denver. I'm sorry, not Denver. Detroit. Detroit some years ago was the only market in the country that I couldn't find a reason to love. All right, because there's every place in America generally is growing in population, and population growth means housing demand, right? So this is the only place that wasn't. This was the only place that was actually losing population on a year-over-year basis, and that scared me. And there were reasons for that. The auto industry was evacuating. The job base was eroding. The city of Detroit was corrupt. It was bankrupt. It wasn't going to be able to meet its pension obligations. It was a mess. And then a couple of things happened. One, the state put an emergency manager in charge of Detroit, went through bankruptcy, okay, came out of bankruptcy. So they cleaned up their pension obligation situation and their debt problem. They also cleaned up their corruption, not by electing a whole bunch of really non-corrupt politicians. They just took the power away from them for the time being and put it in the hands of a professional manager. But then things started to happen that were giving signals of the market coming back. Quicken Loans setting up shop right there and really investing heavily in downtown Detroit, take some of those blighted neighborhoods and turn them into something more positive. Big plus there. Getting a corporate champion like that buddies up with government and begins to spend the money to clean things up is a big plus. But that wasn't even enough. It was the renegotiation and the following through on the bankruptcy. And then we have the auto industry being coerced, muscled, bribed. I don't know what the right word is, but they're being compelled to come back to America, come back to Detroit. And so what's happening there now is there are announcements coming out every couple of weeks. I think I saw one last week, $3 billion investment by General Motors. They're doing electric cars. They're doing autonomous cars. So it's not just running back and doing the same thing they used to do. They're bringing in a whole new industry. And Detroit, you look at the chart on the screen here, it's got a negative 20-year appreciation rate. So it got really slammed. And I think if I was going to invest in Detroit, what I would do is buy the nicest property I could. I wouldn't worry about trying to get a deal on the property because you're getting a deal on the city. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so that's one. All right, I'm going to rattle through 3 or 4. All right, let's see. When it comes to Florida, I think the Panhandle is going to catch on. The Panhandle has done a very good job, along with the Alabama coast, of not letting anybody in the Northeast even know it's there. Like they literally intentionally are trying to keep a well-kept secret, but the secret is gradually getting out. As people look around and say, where can I find the climate, the quality of life, gorgeous coastline, Panhandle is one of those things, and it's nothing like South Florida in terms of the wild appreciation rates over there. It hasn't really happened there yet. So I like that.
But Renters Warehouse isn't in the Panhandle, right?
That's true. I'm sorry, we do have a Tallahassee office, but
oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just talking in general terms. If I was going to, I should be thinking in terms of the places where we are. That probably makes sense, right?
Well, I have to find if I'm going to buy in Detroit, right? I have to know I have a problem. I'm sure they have them.
Yeah, we do. We do have that. Yeah, we do. I'll tell you where my favorite market today that is really in the process of exploding. that is a Renters Warehouse market is Huntsville, Alabama. Huntsville, it's relatable to Detroit in that the auto industry has been there. Mercedes went in there 20-something years ago, set up an anchor for the auto industry, but then a couple of years ago, Mazda and Toyota announced a joint venture to put a big factory in Huntsville. So Huntsville is a place where most people have barely heard of it. It's just a nice southern town, small tier town. Birmingham is strong. Montgomery is strong, but I specifically like Huntsville because there's, like I said, the state is a winner. Alabama is kind of like 20 years behind Georgia and North Carolina in terms of catching on as a major southern city, and Tennessee, right? So it's the last one. Maybe Mississippi is coming up behind it. So I love that. And again, I would go in and look at that as, you know, you could find something. Are you the kind of guy that wants to fix up a beat up piece of property?
It's hard being not there. If I'm going to do a big value play, then you feel like you got to be hands on and be there. But I'm not opposed to it necessarily. It just has to be the right fit. But I would look more for like a hybrid that has a little bit of upside on value and a good yield. You know, that's not a total demo, you know, total redo. But that's where the big people are making the big money. I mean, I get it. You know, so
yeah,
just looking for the right deal. You know, it's so many factors. Like Houston's been so good to me, but man, it's top of the market right now. There's no deals to be had in Houston. I still think it's a great market.
Well, you know what's funny about Houston? So I've got Huntsville on the screen here, so I'll hit that one more quick time just to get – Huntsville's yields are going to be good because the prices are low. Huntsville is a flat line.
Like
it's a 1.5% annual appreciation rate going back 20 years. It is not popped yet. It's going to pop in the future. So I'm going to look back here 5 years from now, and we're going to see this chart accelerating upwards. But I'll tell you something about Houston that I thought was. I went down and visited with Rich. We actually made it. If you go to our YouTube channel, it's the Own America YouTube channel. Is that what we call it?
That's Randon Real Estate.
Okay, Randon Real Estate YouTube channel. We did a show that we call Real Estate Road Trip, where I actually go there. I rent a muscle car. I tear around the market in this car, and we look for a city like Houston. It's obviously done well, but are there pockets around Houston that are popping now that maybe are going to have extra liftoff compared to the rest of the city? And we discovered, what was it, Valley Ranch. You ever heard of Valley Ranch down there?
I think I have, yes.
Valley Ranch was dry, no booze, okay? And when you don't have booze, you don't have restaurants. When you don't have restaurants, you don't have nightlife. You have a quality of life element missing. So the real estate prices there were a little bit flat in Valley Ranch. Valley Ranch had some very visionary people. Like for years, I think they were trying to get the dry designation lifted, but they were going about it the wrong way. I guess they were saying we want booze, and it wasn't working. They came up with the restaurant initiative. Rich clued me into all this, and I drove there and drove it and saw it. The restaurant initiative said we need to be able to allow liquor licenses if we're going to have restaurants, and restaurants are good for quality of life. Well, that got approved. And so now it's not a dry town or county anymore. I think that market is going to I think it's been suppressed, and now it's going to accelerate. It's about 40 minutes due north of downtown. Valley Ranch, and then so the houses that are $125,000 in that area, I think are going to go up at a much faster pace, multifamily as well, just because of that one factor.